We ready? Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I am so excited to sit with two dynamic human beings. We have Cynthia Jenkins, who is the head of supplier diversity and managing partner over at GroupM. We have Michelle Holmes, who is the president of Publicis Collective. And we have a lot to talk about today, but we are going to be focused on how we are uplifting Black women in media. So I'm going to go ahead and give y'all your flowers. And I need to actually read this out because y'all, they have so many accolades, it's not even funny. So I'm gonna first start with you, Cynthia. So Cynthia's media career has focused on mainstreaming underserved minority cultures in advertising. She was a part of a team that founded and launched Hot 97, which happens to be one of my favorite stations. And she also represented Ebony, Jet, Working Mothers Magazine, and Pfizer. And she didn't stop there. Unafraid of a challenge, she launched several media properties, including WQHT, Air America Radio, BET Centric, BET Her, another personal favorite, thank you so much. And she's led sales teams both internationally and nationally. As I mentioned before, you're currently the head of supplier diversity and the managing partner over at GroupM. And really what you're doing is collaborating with clients and diverse media vendors to increase awareness and consideration. So thank you for doing the work. We have the indelible Michelle Holmes. So Michelle's career journey began in Chicago, where she served in various marketing and digital roles at Fortune 50 companies. Of course, naturally, she quickly ascended the ranks, leaving an indelible mark. Beyond the boardroom, Michelle is a mom-in-chief. She holds an MBA from Emory University. And when she's not working, she's giving back to the industry by serving as a board member for the Ad Club of New York, and recently serves as the chairwoman of the Global Belonging Council at Essence MediaCom. She is currently, as I mentioned, the president of Publicis Collective and NYC, and you are going to help the agency to guide and build through this exciting phase of growth and innovation. So I'm so happy to have y'all both here. My name is Ashley Banks. I am the SVP of Revenue over at Group Black. We are in the industry of making it easy to be able to work with diverse-owned media, and we're doing it at high and fast hyper growth, and it's because of these two women today. So thank you so much for being incredible partners, and thank you so much for being with us today. So
Thank you for having us. Absolutely.
So I just want to dive in with our first question. As Black women, we have constantly been told to fight for a seat at the table. Luckily, it's 2023, and we're all there. So I would love to hear, now that you have your seat, what are you doing beyond the seat? Cynthia, do you want to go first?
Sure, absolutely. First things first, thank you for having us. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Group Black. I think there are very many of us at a table. I'll say that generally.
A table.
And I think there's more growth to be had at those tables. Mm-hmm. But I think once you've arrived there, what's next is the destiny that you control. And by that I mean taking risk and being accountable. Not so much always going for a role that you see posted, speaking to your connections and getting a role created with you in mind. It's a little bit different past sitting in the seat that you have long awaited to arrive in. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more of controlling the narrative of what's next.
There's something to be said about a company knowing you, knowing your persona, and actually building around you. Mm-hmm. That's really when you feel like you
It's a different lane. It's a different lane. It's different feeling.
Completely different lane.
And it's exciting.
What about you, Michelle?
So I think beyond the seat is a really interesting question for a couple of reasons. One, it actually makes you think about what the future holds, not just for yourself, but for other people. So for me, even in taking this role, and I'm new in the role at Publicis, I only took the role because I told them I was having chapter 2 of my career. And what that meant, I don't feel like I have anything else to prove to anyone. I have a seat at the table because I designed my career such that I will be here, and the next place I will be, I will get there. If I gave you the journey and the timeline, you will see that it was very calculated. So there's no surprise that I'm here. I didn't happen to be here. And so I felt very confident saying to them, and the next seat I will hold is really about becoming a corporate activist and ensuring that other women, including women of color, are also in the spaces and places that I want to be, because you can only make influence when you have masses. And so to be a one and only isn't a fun thing.
No.
Right? It's isolating, and you cannot be as impactful.
Right.
And so the next seat for me is identifying top talent, people who look like me, and I'm unapologetic in saying that. I seek out women and people of color who I know will deliver beyond a brief and will drive performance and business impact. And I'm unafraid in saying that. And I would say in my 8 weeks that I've been there, I've already brought in some of those women and are demonstrating that.
I have to applaud you on that.
We will get the roles. So I'm not.
We'll get them,
I've already
for sure.
crafted what the next seat is.
That's right.
But now it's who else can I bring
along
the way.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Can we unpack how you were able to go past societal norms and actually climb the ladder to get to where you are? I'm glad that you were like lifting other people up, but how did you get there? What did you do to get to your seat?
I think, well, I don't believe in societal norms, so
True.
then there's that, because I determine my own fate and I decide. And I think too frequently we get caught up in the comparison, and that can hold us back.
Yes.
And so your path is your story, and you have to own it and live in it. Like Michelle said, lifting as we climb, bringing people along with us for the ride. That's extremely important to make sure that it doesn't end with us. What did our Vice President Kamala Harris say? The first but not the last. You've got to make sure that you provide more opportunities and seats at the table. So my path specifically followed like my life. You can tell when I was parties and BS and having a good time, the hot 9-7, I took a risk. I'll say that.
I wish I knew you during
It was a
those
different,
days,
well,
Cynthia.
you kind of still know that
I
person.
mean, on a Friday.
She writes. She reveals herself here and there. But I actually started out with a friend of mine named Howard Stern. And that was something that evolved into Hot 97. People would never put the two together. He saw something in me. People that I worked with him evolved to launching Hot 97, and the path was created. But for very many people, not unlike myself, your path follows along with the life you were leading at that time. You can tell when I was younger, when I kind of settled into a different phase of life, and as I grew, I got to that 2.0 level of, I'm not going to do this anymore, I'm going to do that. I'm not doing this anymore, I'm doing that. And I decided along the way. So societal norms, those things that we allow ourselves to measure ourselves against others, and I hate to use that word against, but that's really what it is. Don't hold yourself back. Put yourself in your own driver's seat and you decide. So I didn't get too deep into the specifics, but you kind of outlined them already.
I mean,
I hope that answers.
that illustrious career.
Listen, making my path.
By
making the
design,
way.
y'all.
By
By
design.
design.
By design.
Michelle, did you want to add?
No, I mean, I think all those things are right. I can tell my 21-year-old self many things, but I actually have a sister who's 15 years younger, so now I tell her these things.
Right.
But at 21, when my parents said, be a doctor, I said, okay, I can do that. And so I have a degree in chemistry. But I like to do these other things, which are around marketing. And I saw myself as a CMO. And I sat down and I crafted how I would get there. Now, I had spoken to people along the way, but I started off client side for a long time being like 7 years. And then I got my big break at Walgreens. I was 28. And I walked in with braces and 50 people staring at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I am running digital. And no idea. Haven't asked the questions because, you know, I was my 20-year-old partying self. I had probably gone out that night.
Right.
I wasn't even dressed appropriately in retrospect. And my boss says, oh, you have $1 billion P&L. You're welcome. And I'm like, oh my. But quickly, in 1 year, so it was the first milestone, we hit it. We hit $1 billion online for Walgreens in the first year. And then I realized, yes, I want to be a marketer. I want to be a practitioner, but I really want to be a business operator. And so when you start to think about your craft in terms of how you add and deliver value to the bottom line, then it really opens the aperture around not only what you want to do, but how you do it and how you navigate your career. And I said, okay, I could do this and be a CMO, but eventually I would like to be a CEO. But I didn't say that out loud. I made all the moves to get me here. That's why this is not a surprise. But then I became a consultant. I worked at Accenture for a while. And so I did that. So the truth is, I've only worked at a pure play agency for 6 years. It's the first time I've been in the industry, but not in the advertising industry, because my career has just been so fruitful and designed. And so it's lovely being in this role and having to speak to CEOs and CMOs about what I do, because I've sat in their seats. And now I can speak about what we do at agencies because I've sat there. And so when people are like, oh, you're a unicorn, I'm like, well, not really. I'm just a business operator. And I happen to use media as a practice to deliver value.
Yeah.
So I would say, yes, there's a path that can be, you know, written and historically that is already there for many people to take. But I tell my sister, you think about where you want to be in 20 years, and let's come up with a roadmap for how you get there. And it doesn't need to be us happening upon roles and jobs and taking things that do not serve us in our ultimate destination.
That is the key, making sure that you're not afraid to audit things that don't serve us, people that don't serve us, job functions that aren't going to help you to shine and get to the bottom line. That is like the piece that I will always take with me, is not being afraid to audit. And it's truly helped me to get to where I am. It really leads itself into the next question, which I love to ask because I love to hear what type of advice you would give. But with people out in the crowd today, there's someone that's probably facing this crossroads of deciding where they're going to be. So I would love to hear for you, what type of advice would you give someone who is wanting to step into a leadership role or wanting to take control of their career trajectory? Because I've heard a lot about control, setting intentions, making sure you understand your boundaries, doing it by design. So I would love to hear a little bit of advice that you would give the crowd.
I would say get out of your own way, but have an open mind. When you decide, should you decide that you see something you very much so have an interest in, please become well-versed and knowledgeable in that entity. There's nothing like, I was in sales for years, the core of my career. I'm only on the agency side a limited amount of time. There's nothing like a salesperson who doesn't really know the property.
That's true.
And you are essentially selling yourself. And so as you decide to craft your path ahead and figure out what role is next, why you should have this opportunity, make sure you can accurately and clearly and concisely defend your validation for being in that role. It's so difficult to meet people with the best of intentions and the greatest of potential, but no connection to that opportunity. And if by chance you find yourself knowing like you know that you want this, know what this entails, know the history behind, and maybe find some mentors, some others like yourself. It's okay. Clearly we're sitting here saying we're far and few, but more of us are coming to these seats at the table. But try to find someone, if not at the table, adjacent. You can't be what you cannot see. So if you find yourself, align yourself with that person and get some knowledge to be able to ascend to the height that you've set for yourself.
And I think you're hitting on the difference between an executive sponsor and someone who is mentoring.
Exactly. There
And
is
like,
a world of
we have to make that very clear cut.
delineation.
Your executive sponsor is going to be that person that is in the room that can advocate on your behalf. So make sure you have your shine list for them. Make sure you have your bullet points. They know what's going on in your career and where you're shining. And then you have your mentor who you can have as a sounding board. You can really help to build that roadmap, set those milestones to get to where you need to be. So the one thing that I had to learn very quickly as I was moving up was, when you're not in the room,
Who's your advocate?
who is your advocate and who is speaking about you?
Exactly.
Every single time, I knew my people, and I always had to. 'Cause,
Right.
You know,
It's important.
I like to hedge my bets. Would you like to comment at all on how you would give advice for someone who is wanting to step into a leadership role or change their career trajectory?
I think what Cynthia said is spot on. The advice, I mentor a lot of women, and the advice I give them is being a few things. You have to be capable, you have to be competent, and you have to be curious. And all those 3 C's really helps to build your confidence. Because if you don't have the confidence, which is supported by those 3 things, you may not even be ready. So to be competent, that means, I'm sorry, people of color, you gotta be better than everyone.
That's right.
When I walk in the room, there is no person who I feel is smarter than I am. And not because I'm arrogant or boastful, but because I've probably done
Much more research.
much more homework than anybody else, which means that makes me just feel much more confident than I am, right? And that allows you to walk in the room, to own the space. But those are the things that you need to be thinking about, whether or not you've mastered before you go into these leadership roles. The other thing is, I always say to people, you can be a leader without leading a team.
Exactly.
It's really about the influence that you have to change the environment, whether that's energetically, but really if it's around business impact. And that's what we're really here for, is because we're driving business impact. And that's what companies or these places where we're going want from any person. Are you delivering value? So I would say my advice is, make sure you're competent and make sure you're capable. You stay curious and you're composed. Then you will show up as a leader. I think all the things that you've said around just how to be a leader, how do you prepare, I think those are spot on. I remember having my first meeting with Kirk McDonald at GroupM. And he said, "Who are you?" And I said, "I am whoever." And I said, "Oh, I'm competent, I'm capable, I'm composed, and I'm really cute." And he was like, "Oh, well, why would you say that?" Because I actually had a mentor who told me to use everything in your arsenal to help you be successful. And it was not a Me Too thing. And the person said, "You are attractive." I said, "I'm aware. So use that at work." Thank you very much.
I love it.
That was
Listen,
extra. That was not part of the dialogue.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I love about working with you two. We always keep it real. We have transparent conversations. And that's what's so fun about being on stage today, because I know that you're getting exactly what you're going to get. Like, this is the real Michelle. This is the real
A little
Cynthia.
levity
This is
goes
the
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's Cynthia refined a little.
Cynthia knows how to get lit.
Listen.
Don't let it fool you.
Cindy does. She's not here.
So I want to go back to mentorship, because I know that when we were talking, we all have had some sort of mentor. We've had some sort of executive sponsor in our lives that have helped us to really play a role in our journeys. I know that things have changed. A lot of us are remote. A lot of us are doing a lot of virtual meetings. Do you think that networking and connection is still important in today's work environment to get to where you need to go? And if so, do you have any advice on how to really navigate through these new waters to be able to get your seat at the table?
It's extremely important to me, and I think for all of us. You know, the hungry mouth that doesn't let everyone know that they're hungry does not get fed, right? And so when you find yourself in an environment, open up your mouth and speak to people. I have a relatively new hire on my team, and we sat in an open area for about a day, and I noticed something. I was wondering if she noticed it. We moved on to a different section another day, came back, and she said, "Why don't we speak to each other? Why are the other sisters walking by, not at least like we see brothers do, giving the brother head nod?
Oh,
Sup?
of course.
We don't have anything?" And I said, "You know, I've tried it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's sit here and let's say hello and speak to everyone." And some people were like, "Hi," you know, nervously and moving along. And some people took it a little bit further and were like, "What do you guys do?" And came over and spoke. Some were like, and kept going, like, "You talking to me?" Like, didn't even say anything. So we have to work on ourselves and get out of our comfort zone and speak and open up and network to get where you're going. You never know what someone's doing. I sent the flyer for this opportunity, for me being here, to 8 women. One that I met you at the fountain on the 16th floor last week. I said, "I'm speaking, come." You know, or tune, like whatever you can do, right? At the end of the day, the only way to have a friend is to be one. And if someone smiles at you, oh, I'm there, right? Then there's something. I might be the one that needs to smile. We need to give good energy. We need to feed each other so we can grow together. But we do so much of, I'm the only, and now I'm in this environment.
Yes.
Ooh, there's one more, but I'm gonna be the one. Why can't we both lift each other up and say, "Girl, I said this, but maybe you should say that"? There's room for all of us. So networking and pulling up people and giving voice and giving insight and receiving it, because nobody's a star, right? Do we all own everything where we're working right now? You know, you have more ownership in your role and what you do and what you provide as a resource and an employee, but I don't know that anybody here is, you know, I'll not call out the names. At the end of the day, bloom where you're planted, but be receiving and give positive energy and network and talk and make it work for you. It's a much easier road to toe to network when you're happily enjoying it than when you're rigid and scared because, ooh, who told her? That's not it.
Yeah.
That ain't it. Like, we got to get better.
I mean, I remember when we were talking about just being Black women in revenue.
That's right.
Early on, and you would see each other in the halls because there were really like
Very rare.
at one point it was like a handful of us.
Right.
And we all knew each other and would just at least say, hey, at least be like, good luck. We were competitive for sure.
We
but
knew.
we knew we had compassion for each other because we all knew that what we were going through,
Right.
each of us could feel, and we knew that it was important for us to continue to grow so that we could lift others up. And now I look out and I see so many people that look like me in media.
That's right.
Which is so, so, so exciting.
It is exciting. It's a new day.
I love what you're talking about is really building those informal networks.
Yes.
Which are really important in organizations and in the industry because that's really how the work gets done. That said, I also think it's equally important to be very thoughtful about networking and creating that path. So what does that mean? Identifying not just our fellow sisters and brothers in the room, but identifying, where are my white men? I love them. Right. Identifying all the people in the room. Why? I don't say that to be disrespectful. I mean that. I have literally studied the history of corporate America. which was designed for men at a time when women didn't work. It was designed for white men at a time when people of color did not have these type of jobs. And women are evolving, we are evolving, and the system will change. But what that means is it's incredibly important to identify those men who will be mentors, sponsors, teachers, advocates, because the best advocate you can have besides yourself is the person in the room.
That's correct.
Who has designed the system
That's
and
correct.
the company in which we work in. And so I have been very strategic wherever I go. I have this community which gives me so much life. I walked in here like, wow, I have not seen this many black people in a long time. This is amazing. And I'm gonna go back.
I mean, welcome to Group
This
Black.
is fantastic. Like, I love it. I mean that seriously. But I can't remember the gentleman's name. He says, hustle hard, closed mouths don't get fed on the boulevard. He's a rapper from Miami. I can't think. Hustle.
Ross.
Him, yes. Believe it or not, I actually listen to that. But then when I go in these, before I go to work, I have to hype myself up. Him and me. And then I go into the rooms and I'm like, where, the white men love me. You guys are tripping. Where is my tribe? The men from business school used to say, Michelle is like another white man. I'm like, great, so where's my tribe? Wherever I go, and you believe it or not, we are equally enriched by the experiences that we have that help us, again, I say this on purpose, that really help us deliver and drive innovation and business value. And that's what we need to be thinking about. How do we ensure that we have a tribe? And a tribe is just not about what you look like. It's the people who share your values and your ambitions and your skills and your education, and wrap yourself around those people so that you can then have those people help you bring more people to the table. That's really how it works.
It's like the Trojan horse. You get there.
Yeah.
And everyone
bring
comes
everyone
out.
with you.
Right.
No, I use all my good white men. No, I'm kidding. Totally kidding. Totally kidding.
I think I can see them in the crowd.
No, I see them.
So this lends itself to our last question, which is, from an advertising perspective, if you could speak to brands who don't think that advertising to black women or having black women within their companies is good for their business, what would you say to them today? You have this stage.
Well, I mean, listen, we've all read the research. It's there from leanin.org, from the big 4 consulting firms. Having diversity at a company is incredible. Today, I think there are only 7.3% black people in our industry.
Yep.
Right? That is an atrocity. Right. Because some of the brightest people I know are people of color. What I would say to brands is that you are literally leaving money on the table. And depending on the industry, if you're in hospitality, if heads are not in beds, that is not revenue you can recoup. So if you are in hospitality, you should 100% have people of color, black women. They will help deliver business value, right? The research shows cash flow in improves, bottom line revenue improves by 30% just by having diverse talent in there. But also, what do women of color deliver? They deliver a culture that sometimes is difficult to create without us. They also help with the unconscious biases that are often pervasive in companies.
Yes.
Because sometimes we're actually the ones who are subject to them, but we're also willing to do the emotional work that we don't need to take on, but we do it to help us all get to the other side. And by the way, sorry, we're just gonna work harder than anybody else. It's just a fact. Our output will
I don't know
just
that that's good.
outweigh anybody else. So you would be remiss, quite frankly, just would be a terrible business decision not to have more women of color in the organization.
Preach. I mean, it is true.
It is true. It is true. I don't want to cut you off.
Oh, no, it's fine, Sam.
But there's something to be said for the influence of a black woman,
Yes.
right?
That.
When you see a black woman, you've got to know. I remember once I kind of put myself in a lane in a decent role by saying, don't just look at me and see me. I want you to look at me and see 4 people.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? And I said, well, I have a husband and I have 2 children. So you're asking me to turn around and go downstairs because the black car in front of the building, and for some of you that are there that are smiling, remember the story. I came into the office and was told, oh, that black car downstairs, that's for you. Go to DC and do the so-and-so. I was like, wait a minute. In my mind, I have a chorus concert tonight. I have this, I have that. Don't just think that I am this person. I have a life. And very many people, all of us, have lives outside of what we do. And black women touch very many lives at any given point in their life, married or not, the influence. I worked at BET a decade. I would say, you want to know something? Ask a black woman, please have 30 minutes. Don't ask my opinion on something. I'm going to say, how much time do you have? Because I'm going to tell you my opinion. You need to know my opinion. And black women are influencing up, they're influencing down in the office, in the boardroom, in their homes, taking care of elderly parents, taking care of younger family members. Our influence and our wingspan is massive. And the power of our purse is beyond reason. So when you want me to buy something, know that I'm buying it, but I'm buying it because in some form or fashion, it has reached me. Maybe my mother also likes it. My daughter is going to buy it, and we're going to tell 2 friends, and so on and so on. If you know what that is, that's an ad from years ago. Who knows that? Nobody. Okay. It's all right. I'm dating myself, but and so on and so on. It grows, right? At the end of the day, black women hold such a power of influence that you would be missing on a huge amount of market share if you exclude us, not only in looking at us as the consumer for what we bring to the table and for all of the people that we will reach, but when you are speaking to us and making decisions to reach us, kind of on our behalf, make sure we're at that table, make sure we're at the C-suite level, deciding how you will reach us, because you missed the mark, that's your loss. We're not coming back. No. Look at all the boycotts that we've had in the community over the years. You know, we've got to be conscious of these things. And so it's a way to grow. It's a way to have a very loyal and dedicated commitment to a community from just one person, a black woman.
And multiple communities. Our
Absolutely. The influence is expansive. Absolutely.
Of course. So thank y'all for joining us.
No worries.
I hope this was insightful. I have to thank you so much, Michelle, so much, Cynthia, for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed the gems, and find us afterwards if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. This is great.
I was like, I just was about to pop
So,
up.
Cynthia, when we're going out?
I know.